Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new Dark Den video. As majority of you know, I built and designed all of my glass enclosures, and on my webshop I also have acrylic enclosures in offer that weren't designed by me, but some of its features are my idea. This is an example of my enclosure. It opens like this, and also this part comes out. And there's a tarantula down there. They are designed specifically for tarantulas, but can also be used for some other animals, like other arachnids, bugs, and even some reptiles and amphibians. While these are my acrylic enclosures available in the web shop, I have them with front opening, I also have them with top opening, I have them bigger, smaller, and the biggest feature, the coolest feature is that they are stackable. These are available on US market, really nice looking, available through Tarantula Cribs, and these are available on my web shop, and they are only available in Europe. Of course, I have terrestrial, fossorial, and arboreal models. Anyhow, I also assume that majority of you are familiar with TEMU. It is a Chinese online store that offers a lot of crappy stuff, crappy cheap stuff, but of course you can buy some things that are kind of alright. I personally bought a lot of tools and I've been satisfied with majority of them. So today we aren't going to search for car mechanical tools, but instead terrariums. And let's see what we have available. Okay, these are some acrylic enclosures, so let's check that out. Just a note, at this point my desktop recording software crashed, so I don't have a video of it anymore, so I will use screenshots, but some prices are now different because TEMU is constantly changing prices. I don't know what's up with that. We have 4 sizes. This would be almost comparable to this one, except this one is 10 by 10 by 15, while this is 15 by 15 by 15. And it is 10 euros, while this one is 16 euros. But of course, you need to assemble this one, and it's being held together by rubber bands, I assume, which means they won't be waterproof, and when you will water your enclosure, that water will be able to leak out. But for 10 euros it is really okay, so I'm going to add this one. And I would also like to get a glass terrarium. Oh, but this is really big actually. So a bit smaller than this one. This one is 30 by 25 by 25, and this one is 30, 20, 20. So a bit smaller. And it also got a door that opens on both sides. I'm really curious to see what is the quality of this. I sell these for 50 euros and this one is 40 euros. Let's see if there are smaller versions of that one. Yeah, this one is 20 by 20 by 30. So that is exactly as my arboreal version. Exactly like this one. And it is 37 euros, while this one I sell these for 35. So Dark Den enclosures are actually cheaper than glass enclosures on TEMU, which means I'm pretty cheap. Although to be honest, glass prices were rising and rising and rising, and I didn't really increase my glass enclosure prices, so maybe that's why.
Petko from the future, just letting you know that I was expecting that the enclosures won't be that good, but glass enclosure definitely surprised me, so there will be an affiliate link in the description, and if you decide that you want to check them out, make sure to use my link. Back to the video.
But I'm going to place my order and they should arrive within the next 6 to 13 business days. I'm really curious how they will pack the glass enclosure and if it will survive the trip. So yeah, let's do a time jump.
And here they are exactly 1 month later. The plastic enclosure, acrylic enclosure arrived like a week later, but for glass enclosure I got a notification that since it is a bigger and heavier object, it cannot be sent by plane, so it needs to arrive on a train, I guess. So therefore it took a bit longer. Anyway, let's open, no, first let's check out the acrylic one and then we will check out the glass one. I really wonder if it's still intact. Let me just shake the box. There is some noise, but it doesn't sound broken. As expected, the acrylic enclosure is packed flat. This of course is what enables them to be cheaper, because the enclosures are much cheaper to produce. You are the one that is assembling them, and also shipping is much easier. It fits inside of this, while if you order an enclosure from me or anyone who sells assembled enclosures, we need to pack it in a box, you know, and with enclosure being assembled, the chance for it to be damaged in the transit is much higher. 6 sides. No instructions on how to assemble them right. They assume that you can figure it out. Protective foil on the acrylic, of course. And just judging by how it feels in my hand, this is some different type of acrylic than the ones on the Dark Den enclosures. Let me just check. And also I can compare it with Tarantula Cribs. Shout out to Tarantula Cat, this is her enclosure. It is basically the same thickness, but the feel of the material is definitely different. I'm not saying that this is worse, but feeling is different. Dark den acrylic enclosures that are available in Europe are thicker by a hair. Acrylic panels thicker by a hair, but nothing significant. Okay, let's assemble it. Oh really? I forgot to press record. Classic. These ventilation holes, if you can see, are bigger than on tarantula cribs and also bigger than on my enclosures. And some smaller laterales roaches could definitely crawl out of them, just like some smaller jumping spiders, and especially if you have like jumping spider babies, they could definitely crawl out of those ventilation holes. So you should definitely look out for that. That was less protective protective foil. I'll put this on the table so I don't scratch the panels. And let's see how to assemble this. Now this is definitely the top part, the door. Then we have this with a magnet. So this is, I guess, front part, huh? This should be bottom, left, right, and this should be back. Yeah, and how the magnet is installed. Aha, look at this. These are the rubber bands you use to connect everything, and also this is the magnet that goes on the top panel, on the door I mean, and I have no idea how it gets attached. Oh, also with the rubber band. You see, this just goes inside, and then I assume you put the rubber band. It can go through without the band. Something like this, you see? Interesting solution for sure. Let's connect the rest. Assembly is really simple and you don't really need any instructions. These brackets on the panels go through these two holes, and then you just put a rubber band around those brackets. Intuitive. One side, and I messed that up because this hole needs to go here. But it is not a problem, you just remove the rubber bands and you flip the panel. Even if you make a mistake, it's not a problem. Top panel goes... And then you also have a hole on the other side. Although I should first put the front panel. You don't really need instructions, but it would be nice to know the order on how to assemble it. I'm not going to lie to you, this looks really nice and it operates, you see, just like my enclosures, but I would have an issue. This magnet is, you see, really small. Compare the size of the magnet with the magnet on my enclosure, you see. And even on my smaller enclosures, they have much bigger magnets than these, and that is the problem because tarantula can, for sure, a tarantula of size that goes into this enclosure can for sure push this door. You see how bigger this enclosure is. So naturally you will have a bigger tarantula with time inside, and that bigger tarantula will for sure be able to lift this door. You have a bigger enclosure in which you can put a bigger tarantula, but then... Oh, I didn't put a rubber band here. But then you can't really utilize that because of that fact. It is not safe for a bigger tarantula. So you would be forced to have a tarantula of this size inside of this bigger enclosure, so it is not that optimal. Of course, that can be a positive thing. With bigger enclosure you could set up it prettier, and if you don't have a lot of tarantulas, maybe that is a better thing. But still, I would definitely be concerned about this. In the corner it lifts really easily, and sooner or later I'm afraid that tarantula will figure that out and just squeeze through that. Look, so easy, while this enclosure, same force. You see, I need to use by far greater force, and maybe I can demonstrate it like this, so you can see that I'm using same force. Okay, it is not a fair fight because we have a gravity on this going on, but we can do it side by side. You see, the magnet on my enclosure will always win, and you see how simply I open it. But they are pretty for sure, and even with these rubber bands, they are not really ugly, but question is how long will they last, you know? Rubber tends to get hard and crack easily, so longevity is questionable. And now to show you the biggest flaw, the reason why I would never use this enclosure. You know, tarantulas are alive creatures and they all require water, or at least humidity. So what happens when you add water to this enclosure? Really obvious thing. It leaks because it is not glued together or anything. And that is definitely a deal breaker for me. Unless you could like silicone the corners, although silicone doesn't really stick to acrylic, you would need some special glue that adheres to acrylic. Then it would work, but you need to buy the glue. So therefore, just ordering a dark den enclosure, acrylic dark den enclosure, is easier and probably cheaper. But I'm really surprised how, okay, it is not super sturdy. You see, you can like move it around, but it is sturdier than I expected. It definitely surpasses my expectations. Now, what I'm really curious about is glass enclosures, because you know, I don't build my acrylic enclosures. I have a guy in Hungary that builds them for me. My glass enclosures are my prized possession, and I was really wondering how they are packed, and this is something what I expected. That is exactly what I need to do for my enclosures to make them shippable, you know, although I'm not sure how expensive creating a package like this is. But good news, the enclosure survived its trip. I don't see any damage. So let's check it out. Just like with acrylic enclosure, this looks good, but right off the bat, look at this gap. I thought that my enclosures got big gap, but this is enormous gap. And how the system works. How do I open this? Well, not a bad system, to be honest. You see, you have this like a sliding lock that goes like that. Yeah, pretty good. Build quality looks good. Not a lot of ventilation here, but on top there is a mesh, which is locked with this. Can even lift it from the... Oh, I need two hands. So this is that mesh. And then basically just like dark den enclosure, you have a top entrance and front entrance, but you have this in a way, and adding a background can put... Oh no, you can slide it from the top, and then, yeah, it shouldn't be a problem. But with mesh of this size, the enclosure will dry up really quickly, so we will need to mist it a lot more than my enclosures. And what is this? Does that mean that the enclosures are stackable? That potentially could be the case. Honestly, I was expecting that this will be an easy target, but it is not that bad. This is more expensive than my acrylic enclosure. I mean my glass enclosures. I sell arboreal glass enclosures at expos for 35 euros, while this is 38, but I see that now it's for 52 euros. They are always changing prices on the TEMU, and you need to search for a better deal. Anyway, would I recommend this? I would like to say no, but it is really alright. Although this silicone business, holy moly, what is this for a silicone line? They definitely use a lot of silicone, but you put a substrate here, so it is not a problematic thing. It is just weird for me to see. You know, I may be looking at this through a different set of eyes than you are, because I'm building enclosures, so I'm trying to figure out how they actually built it. I'm trying to find something to say, aha, this is not good, but this enclosure is definitely a worthy competitor, and to be honest, I would prefer this over Exoterra any day, just because how you can silently open the door. It is more comparable with Exoterra and the way that door operates, but it is much cheaper than Exoterra, and if you don't mind this gap, I really see no reason why you should buy an Exoterra instead of this. The only question is how would it perform long term, but just from this quick inspection I would definitely give it a thumbs up. And maybe this plays annoying, although I don't have Exoterra to compare it, but if you look at my enclosures, you see I don't have that play. And the gap here is minimal, also on the other side you have basically no gap. So yeah, is my enclosure better? I definitely prefer this design, not just because it's mine, but looks and feels prettier. It is definitely more elegant. Maybe I should show you side by side. And maybe it is not fair because this is a setup enclosure while this is not. But you see, definitely more elegant. Although in the future I will have something similar on the bottom of the enclosure. Not this bulky, but similar to protect the edge and also to enable stacking. That is why I have these holes. But now when I'm thinking, maybe I should have had same thing like these enclosures have. Pins on top and a hole on bottom. But it is a little too late to change the design now. But okay, this was definitely interesting. And now I'm wondering, since I would recommend this over Exoterra, in the description you will find the affiliate link for this enclosure and also other size enclosures that are same design, you know. So if you're not able to get the dark den enclosure, I am only selling them on couple expos, so they are not really readily available, although I should look to see how complicated it is to build this and then finally add the enclosures on the web shop. But if you are in the US, this is definitely a good alternative to the Exoterra. So if you decide to order one, please use my affiliate link in the description And don't use Honey plugin, because that plugin replaces the referral code with its own. So it is basically stealing money from other creators you wish to support by using someone else's referral link. Yeah, delete that plugin and also check the video. There is a video on YouTube exposing how scummy it is. I will also link it in the description. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to thumbs it up and comment something. If you want to support this channel even more, there's a Patreon page and also a web shop where you can buy merch and acrylic enclosures. If you're new to this channel, make sure to subscribe. Upload on Monday, sometimes a live stream on Sunday. So see you again really soon. Bye-bye.